This week on Christian World News, Iraqi troops fight tirelessly to break the ISIS stronghold in Mosul. But what does the future hold for the country's Christians there? Plus, World War II hero, the big screen story of the real-life soldier whose faith inspired him to rescue more than 70 men from the battlefield without ever touching a weapon. And for the first time in centuries, researchers go inside the place believed to be Jesus' burial tomb. We'll show you this historic site.
여러분 안녕하십니까? 크리스천 월드뉴스입니다. 이라크군이 이슬람 극단주의 무장단체 IS가 점령하고 있던 여러 마을들을 탈환했다고 합니다. 카라쿠시라는 이름의 마을도 되찾았다고 하는데요. 바크가 끊이질 않던 이라크 북부 기독교인들에게는 매우 감사한 소식이 아닐까 싶습니다.
The first church service was held in that town since ISIS took it over 2 years ago. Christians in northern Iraq are anxiously waiting to see what will happen next.
이라크 북부의 많은 기독교인들은 지난 과거의 고통과 미래의 불확실성으로 힘들어하고 있는데요. 이르빌에서 전해온 소식입니다.
When ISIS swept through northern Iraq in the summer of 2014, tens of thousands of Christians ran for their lives. After fleeing Mosul and surrounding villages, thousands of Christians made their way here to Erbil. 130 families live in this complex run by the Chaldean Catholic Church. It's a challenging life since 3 families share just one apartment. Hey, how are you?
You're welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome.
We met with Athira Assis and her 3 daughters, who escaped the ISIS rampage.
We were scared and afraid and felt worried about this because we had heard that ISIS kidnapped many women and killed many women too, so we were very afraid.
They now live in safe but crowded conditions, where 5 family members sleep in one room. As Assis and her daughters prepared a meal for us, we asked what she would say to a mother in the United States.
We told them that we want a quiet life. We need a safe life for us and for our children. And we ask you to liberate Mosul so we can go back to our home. What we need from all people in the world is to go back to our village and live a normal life like people are living.
The big challenge is what's our future? Are we going to stay here? Are we going to leave? Are we going to go back?
Father Martin helps to lead this group. He says they lost their homes, but not their faith.
Yeah, of course. Their faith is maybe it was empowered by these difficulties. Every time they are praying, every time. They are also praying for ISIS, to God have mercy on them, to make them a good people. They are praying for their enemies.
That act is just one part of their faith. Martin sees the Christians of Iraq as its salt.
So we can take like a salt, give a taste for the food. So we can give a taste for this country. They can see that we have hope, we have charity, because we are living the guy we called Jesus Christ.
Father Martin's church gave him the choice to live in San Diego with his family. Instead, he chose to return to Iraq and his people.
I thought that we called to don't escape from the problem, to face the problem and solve it, if it will take a long time. That's my principle. And that's what Jesus told us. He changed the whole world from Jerusalem. So we can here make a change from Iraq to the whole world.
Father Martin, Assis, and thousands of others in northern Iraq want fellow Christians around the world to pray for freedom from ISIS and a return to the life they seek to regain. Chris Mitchell, Cbn News, Erbil, northern Iraq.
수많은 이라크와 시리아 난민들에게는 집에 돌아갈 수 있을 거란 희망도 마땅한 삶의 터전도 없는데요. 미국이 어느 정도까지 난민을 수용해야 하느냐에 대한 문제가 계속해서 논란이 되고 있습니다. 미국 국민의 결단이 필요하다고 주장하는 전문가들도 있는데요. 이 소식 함께 만나보시죠.
The United States has now welcomed more than 13,000 refugees fleeing Syria. Amid all the concerns about radical Islamic infiltrators, some suggest the American people should have a say in who gets in.
It's our country, it's our house. We decide to whom to open the doors. We decide to whom to offer a meal and maybe a bedroom. I think, of course, that should go without saying, but doesn't.
In his recent article, Coming to America, May writes that he disagrees with those who want to close off America's borders completely, but thinks prioritizing who gets to come in by considering what's best for America is smart policy, especially when you consider that of the first 11,000 Syrians invited to live in America, only 56 of them are Christian.
Both houses of Congress and the Obama administration have recognized that genocide is taking place in the Middle East. They've designated that there are victims of genocide. Genocide means whole communities being targeted for extermination. It seems to me once you agree and understand that these communities are facing genocide, you need to prioritize those victims. And that means they get to the front of the line.
It's inaction that runs counter to U.S. policy, not to mention immoral, when you consider the lessons of World War II, Bosnia, and Rwanda. Instead, the U.S. has designated Christians in Syria and northern Iraq as suffering, but told them they'll have to get in line. And even that isn't as easy as it may sound.
They're afraid to go to the camps the UN has set up. It's not the UN's fault exactly, but they are not protected in those camps from Islamic State infiltrators, from criminal gangs, and from other people in the camp who may be hostile to Christians for all sorts of reasons.
Some members of Congress are working on giving Christians alternative routes into the U.S. In the meantime, though, allowing more Christian refugees could give Americans peace of mind.
Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, these are not equal opportunity employers. They don't employ Christians, so it's easier to vet Christians because Christians are not going to come here in order to become suicide bombers for ISIS or Al-Qaeda. That doesn't work that way.
The Christian communities in the Middle East now under attack have survived centuries of hardships. And May says the idea that they could be wiped out in a generation is terrible. Jennifer Wishon, CBN News, Washington.
기독교 신앙을 지키다 순교한 이들, 지난 한 해에만 무려 7천여 명이었다고 하는데요. 순교자의 소리가 이들을 위한 연합 기도 모임을 개최했습니다. 예배 중에는 중동에서 부르심을 받은 한 남아공 선교사를 기억하며 만든 영상도 상영됐습니다.
Psalm 91. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him I will trust. We received this calling from the Lord, but the Lord has got a purpose for us as a family to live out our love for Him, our love for the Africans, to serve. And here we are. God, take our lives and make with us whatever you find pleasant and good in your purpose. So it was a normal day for us, and Vanna just went to the office and he was teaching that morning. Actually, that was the routine every day. And for the children, there's this hunger for the Lord that's very precious. And they are growing in their faith day by day. And it's wonderful to be their mom and experience how they are growing and living their lives for the Lord in a place like Afghanistan. Most wonderful thing the parent can do for his child is to bring him up in the Lord's way so that he knows who his Creator is and that he can have a loving relationship with the Lord and live a life for that purpose. I've asked myself many times in the past, Lord, is this really where you want us? Because of all the difficulties, the challenges, we can lose our lives anytime for the Lord. When I look at that in the spiritual realm, I know that He will not take us to a place like Afghanistan and just dump us there, and he doesn't have a plan and a purpose with that. So I know 100% that we are in the right place, that we are obedient to the calling.
Lord, please help us.
I would tell my children, Jean-Pierre and Ruday, you will face a very difficult day today, and I'm not going to be there to help you, and Daddy is also not going to be there to help you. But Jesus is going to be there to help you through this, and He will be there. He promised never to leave us nor forsake us. I believe they are in front of the Lord's throne, worshiping Him, praising Him, glorifying Him. And that they are just waiting for me to finish the race as well.
멜 깁슨의 새 영화 핵소 리치가 미국에서 연일 화제거리라고 합니다. 2차 대전에 참전했지만 기독교 신앙을 이유로 총을 드는 것을 거부했던 데스먼드 도스의 실화를 바탕으로 한 영화인데요. 멜 깁슨과 출연 배우들 함께 만나보시죠.
So how come you don't fight? You think you're better than us?
No.
But what if he was attacked? Whoa! Say it like that. The Bible says to turn the other cheek, don't it?
Hacksaw Ridge is the heroic true story of Desmond Doss, a military medic who rescued more than 70 men from battle during World War II. And he did it without a single weapon.
Fiction is nowhere near as good as the truth that way. It's you can't make this stuff up. We all wish and hope that we had that kind of strength and conviction and courage, but it's quite clear that only a man like Desmond Doss does.
It just spoke to my heart. I really dug the story. I was, teardrops on page 94.
Oscar winner Mel Gibson directs the film, his first in 10 years. Would you call this a companion piece to Braveheart in any way?
Yeah, in a sense. I think it's more evolved in a way because it's really about love, not war.
I thank God for letting me do my part in this war and saving the lives of my fellow men.
Doss, the first conscientious objector to receive the Medal of Honor, is a living story of love for God, his country, and his wife, Dorothy.
I fell in love with you because you weren't like anyone else. You're saying you could go to prison. But I don't know how I'm going to live with myself if I don't stay true to what I believe.
It's just this unconditional love between them. And I was so drawn to that because the love feels so pure and innocent. And I think it's very different from some of the romances we see these days with our apps and Tinder and Twitter.
I know that you did a lot of research on women during that time period. What did you find out?
I actually did a lot of research, more specifically on Dorothy Schutte. There's hardly any footage of her, but the few things I did see, I saw how she walks with such grace and elegance, and she is a woman of great faith.
Private Doss, you are free to run into the hellfire of battle without a single weapon to protect yourself.
He goes into battle with only his faith in God and his Bible as a weapon. How do you do that?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good question.
So that is the question. And I think it's mysterious. I think it's deeply mysterious. And I don't even know if he knew how he did it. The way I see it and the way I think that Mel framed it for us as a story is that you feel there's no choice. He doesn't actually have a choice in the matter. There's a calling. You know, he asks on top of the ridge when everyone else is retreating. He just pauses and takes a second, as you see in the film, and he asks, what do you want of me? He's tuning into that inner voice, tuning into the voice of his God.
What is it you want of me? I don't understand.
Just discovering that this was a man that lived was a surprise in his entirety.
You're like gum on a shoe, ain't you?
Give me this.
It's a bit late for target practice now, don't you think?
Vince, how would you describe what happens to the relationship between Sergeant Howell and Desmond over the course of their time together?
I think that Sergeant Howell starts from a place of his own faith and conviction. So I think I recognize my character very early, that he is authentic, but it is an absolute collision with my belief system. We are going to war. There is not a good fit for someone who is not prepared to carry a gun or defend his brothers in the foxholes. I think as we go on, what I love about our relationship, which I think is different than any of the others, is there's a sense of humor and a teasing that takes place where you realize that there's no apology needed. We kind of got who each other was, and we're just both looking at each other in these kind of oddity ways and enjoying each other. But there is something, without giving too much away, in that moment when he comes for me, where we both kind of protect the other.
Right.
You know, my philosophies does sort of save him, and his philosophy save me, and there is a beauty in that yin and yang that come together.
한편 패션 오브 크라이스트의 후속편이 준비되고 있다고 하는데요. 영화 배우이자 감독인 멜 깁슨을 만나 영화 제작 소식 함께 들어보시죠.
It's no secret, Mel, you are working on a sequel to The Passion. Why make a sequel?
Well, because it's called the resurrection of the, you can't do the Passion again, but you see the fruits of that. So it's an interesting, it'll be interesting what we come up with.
I read somewhere that you're planning to do something very creative concerning, well, creative license, of course, you have to, with the resurrection.
Sure, yeah. I'm working with Randall Wallace. And we've been just like chin-wagging about it a lot. And, there's a lot of theology attached to this event. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, who gets killed in public and then gets up 3 days later and appears to people everywhere and then, starts a whole thing? Nobody ever did that.
예수님의 무덤으로 추정되는 거룩한 무덤교회 내부가 몇백 년 만에 모습을 드러냈습니다. 현재 4세기 교회의 모습을 복원하려는 작업이 한창 진행 중인데요. 예루살렘 구시가지로 함께 가봅니다.
This National Geographic video shows workmen uncovering the marble slab over the tomb on October 26th. As the video says, the modest tomb has never before been photographed, and no drawings exist. It reported conservationists were surprised to find something their instruments didn't detect, a layer of debris beneath the marble cover. Then underneath the debris, they found another marble slab with a cross carved into its surface. Then they saw the original burial bed. Emperor Constantine ordered the church built in the 4th century. His mother, Queen Helena, came here to discover the tomb where Jesus was buried. The Roman Emperor Hadrian in the 2nd century built a temple here to the goddess Aphrodite. The historian Eusebius said he did it to cover the tomb where Jesus was buried. The examination of the tomb is part of a restoration project. Workers are preparing the structure known as the edicule, which means little house. It was built to protect the tomb. The last repair work done on the edicule took place over 200 years ago. Professor Antonio Marapoulou leads the restoration and told CBN News earlier this year about the project.
We will remove the marble slabs, the stone slabs. We will inject grouts to homogenize the complex structure, which is the Holy Rock. That means that we develop a unified structure, that all the layers will behave structurally as one. And upon this, after repairing with new compatible and performing mortars and concrete, we will readjust the stone slabs with titanium bolts.
For the workers, it's more than a job. Vasilios Sefelis is a Greek civil engineer.
So I'm very excited because I'm a Christian Orthodox and I am working in Greece in monuments like this. But this is a specialized project, very specialized project. I don't believe that I can go to something bigger than this.
Each one of us in front of the Holy Tomb feels the values of the Holy Tomb. And the Holy Tomb is the most alive place in the world. It gives the message of resurrection.
National Geographic plans to show more of its footage this month on its Explorer channel. The restoration should be completed sometime next year. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Jerusalem.
오늘 준비한 소식은 여기까지입니다. 저는 다음 주에 다시 찾아오겠습니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.